Okay, let's call to order the Planning Committee meeting for Wednesday, July 5th at 4 o'clock. We're joined remotely Councillor Wolf, Councillor Glanders, and Councillor Hobbs. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the minutes. A motion to adopt. Done and seconded. All those in favor, contrary, carried. Our next meeting will be July the 18th. And the first item on the agenda is an application by 124-3059 BC Limited for rezoning at 12120 number 5 road from AG1 zone to a light industrial IL zone. The recommendation is to be introduced and given first reading. And we have Ashley Kwan and Suzanne Smith. And Ashley, I assume you're the speaker.
Yes.
You're
Thank
on.
you, Mr. Chair. Staff does not have any additional comments to provide, but will highlight a few points. The proposed rezoning from the agricultural AG1 zone to light industrial IL zone is to facilitate the development of 2 industrial buildings consistent with the OCP designation. Interim vehicle access will be provided from number 5 road with ultimate vehicle access provided through the extension of the rear lane to Rice Mill Road. The site is currently vacant. 7 trees are proposed to be removed and the 14 replacement trees will be planted along the building frontage. The building foundation has been designed to facilitate the retention of a significant tree and other bylaw-sized trees along both the north and south property lines. A total of 22 trees on adjacent properties will be retained. The applicant proposes to incorporate sustainability and building energy efficiency features into the development, which include but are not limited to on-site level 2 EV charging stations, pre-ducting within each unit for future rooftop solar infrastructure, and building construction to achieve a minimum 10% better energy efficiency than base building code requirement. A servicing agreement is required prior to rezoning adoption for site servicing works, lane construction, and frontage improvements, which include the construction of additional on-site parking, landscape boulevard, and a 3-meter wide trail. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Good. Are there any questions of staff? The applicant is here for questions as well after. Anybody? Okay, Councillor Day.
Thank you very much for the report. On PLN 17, there's an aerial view of the area. And my question is, you've got number 5 road, Rice Mill, and then you've got the railway line. Is that entire area in the OCP going to be industrial? Page 17.
Yep. It's a colored map.
Just one moment. Sorry, just grabbing that for you there.
You may not have the same page as we have.
Yes,
It's
I just
colored
wanted to
map.
confirm.
Go ahead.
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. We just wanted to confirm.
Okay, perfect. And then the rail line that runs kind of like a snake through the back, in between the, I guess it would be the BC Ferries area and this area. Is there any intention down the road to remove those rail lines? Because I heard at one point they might get relocated.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I'm not aware of the future plans, as the city doesn't have any control over that.
And has
I'm not aware of
quadrant,
any.
sorry, excuse me, has that quadrant ever been farmed?
This
area in general?
the entire area in general.
Historically?
Okay. Through the chair to Councillor Day, I'm sorry, I'm not aware if it has or not.
Okay, yeah, I've
have the
lived in the area for most of my life, and I don't recall there ever being any substantial farming. I think there were some blueberries at one point, but that's about it. So. All right, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Wolf. Okay, plug in Michael and
Got it.
we can hear you.
Thank you. Through the chair to staff, just a couple questions. One is, what would be, I don't think we've seen the plans yet, but what would be the expected development on the east side of this property and that's being discussed today? So just over the property line, that's the BC Ferries property. What could be built right adjacent to this?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, the site to the east is owned by BC Ferries, and it is designated, a portion of the site is designated as ESA environmentally sensitive area. It is currently subject to a rezoning application and development permit application that's at third reading for some changes to the BC Ferries facilities that is not immediately adjacent to this site, but anything that were proposed, the site is designated for industrial, but does have a portion that is environmentally sensitive. So we don't have any plans for any structures or any development immediately to the east in this section.
Thank you. Just a follow-up through the chair to staff. Would the height restriction be any difference between this property and the BC ferries? I'm just thinking if they were to bring a ferry or build a ferry on land, the height that something like that would take.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Wolf, subject to the provisions of the zoning bylaw, depending on the type of use that's permitted in each zone, sometimes there are different heights. So there are some different heights associated with the BC Ferries facilities specific to that site in that portion of the site there. So it can depend on the uses. If it's a heavy industrial use, sometimes there are higher heights. This is not a heavy industrial use on this site, so it will have a lower height for this one.
Thank you. My last question, if I may, through the chair. This property used to have hundreds of, or at least over 100, large mature blueberry bushes. They were over 6 feet, easy. And they were known to produce some of the best and be most productive varieties of local blueberry. Apparently, some of them ended up at Kwantlen, London Landing, the Sharing Farm area there. So that's great, and I'd just like to provide a little bit of history that the previous owner and operator of the blueberry farm on this property, they were very supportive to, I think they took an exception to make sure their plants got out into the community and could keep on living and growing. And that's a testament to what people invest into farming and caring for the land. So the previous owner operator was a real steward in Richmond. Maybe they could be acknowledged somehow. I'm not sure if they're connected to the developer or not, but that would be a value, and people can still go harvest blueberries from these. And they even gave lunch and coffee and provided excavator service for anyone who was coming to get the blueberries. So it was quite a sight. I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Okay, are there any other questions? All right, I move the recommendation. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Contrary, carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ashley and Suzanne. Okay, if folks are okay. So the item number 2 is a bylaw change of 8856 amendments, construction signage. We've got the signage. It's from the Director of Building Approvals to be introduced first, second, and third readings today. And we've got Fred Telfick and James Cooper. So, gentlemen,
good afternoon.
You're on. Welcome.
Thank you. Nothing further to add to the current report in front of committee.
Okay. While you see the signage there, any comments? It appears to me everything that we asked for. Well, I would move the recommendation with thanks. And seconded. All those in favor? Oh, Carol? Go ahead.
Come on.
Just a minute. There you go.
Well, I was really, really happy that you added the address so that people who are driving by and see something can easily do it. But I was blown away when you added the ULR code. That was an absolute brainiac idea. So whoever came up with that, they've got, well done. That's going to make it so much easier when there's an issue for people to contact the city instead of trying to look for numbers and addresses. So thank you very much for that.
Okay. All those in favor? Contrary, carried. Thanks very much. Good job. Well done. Okay. The next item is an update of Mark Rental Housing Policy, 1 year in review. We receive it for information, but John Hopkins is coming, and we got some great information there. Hey, I'm sorry.
And this is Ms. Leanne Wang. She was the author of the report.
You didn't put her down on the report, on my notes.
My apologies.
Welcome.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work.
And to the chair, we have nothing further to add, but happy to answer any questions.
Just a couple comments, if I may make. Super stuff, and thank you very much for all your work, whoever's keeping tabs on it. And I'd like to see this being kept on a weekly basis, and maybe we just report it to council every 2 weeks or so as we go along, given what we have information to report. To me, this is most valuable and shows where we have come from, where we are, and hopefully where we're going. So Outstanding job. Thank you for that. And, okay, Carol, you're on.
Thank you very much for the report. Attachment 1 is the City of Richmond Rental Housing Initiative Summary as of June 2023. And I was curious, why would you add, like, the total number of units created from 2007 to 2023 is listed here as 3189, but you've included in there 45 beds of emergency shelter space and 118 supportive housing, which is modular housing, which, you know, we may not keep forever. So I was just curious what your reasoning was for including those two statistics or those two numbers.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, really it's a grand total number. We recognize that those numbers actually can ebb and flow a little bit, especially with the supportive housing. I would also indicate that the applications or number of units that are in stream right now can also change, plus or minus. So yeah, it is certainly probably maybe an asterisk should be applied to that. But we're talking 99% of these units are secured permanent, except for those shelter
Most of them, yeah.
beds.
Yeah, because I did the math, and it's 3,071 actual units that are going to be permanent, that are permanent. So while we pat ourselves in the back, really, a lot of these have come in recent years, because 2007, we just weren't building it. And so if you look at the 16 years that this report's on, it's less than 200 a year. And as we know, there's a lot more than that requiring housing. So while I appreciate the report, it's just really what it tells me is we've got to keep up, you know, the effort and make sure that we do create significantly more rental housing in the years that are coming up, as it is critically needed. So, but thank you for these numbers. They put things in perspective.
Now, this is a good point brought up there, if I may, by Councillor Day. One, by 2007, our population was only 188,000. We've grown 60,000 since then, so puts it in perspective. But I think it's important, given I sit on the Vancouver Housing Committee, the fact that we have, if I want to call it mobile housing or temporary housing, where we provide for people who do need those kinds of houses, as well as the permanent. And I think we need to keep them, even if it's in a special category, the shelter, Salvation Army, etc. I think it's very, very important that we know how many. We'll never have enough, but I think if Vancouver ever did that, they would be happy to keep know what they have. So that's something there. Okay, Councillor Liu.
Chair, thank you for the report. And I do appreciate that we can see what's approved and under development and under review, so we can see what's coming down the pipe. We do know that a couple projects have stalled out or possibly have stopped. Those numbers are not included in this, or are they still on there? So is Atmosphere still on there? Is Thinned on there? Where are those showing up?
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, yes, those units are actually still in here until those projects are, you know, either completely off the books, or if there's a new application that's come in that we can either add or subtract those units, we would do that at that point. So those units officially are still on the books.
Okay, I don't suppose you know off the top of your head the numbers that those are?
If you give
Because
me a moment.
it might make sense to show it as a line at the bottom of like what's,
In progress.
well, no, but what's potentially not gonna happen due to market changes, because I think what we're looking at, part of what we're looking at with this information is to understand the efficacy of this policy in the context of the economic environment that we're in, right? So part of it's the being able to say, yes, they've been approved, maybe they're under development. If they don't come, then we need that sort of highlighted if we're going to change it. Because yes, it's obviously bringing more potentially down, but it's the understanding of how we might need to tweak it maybe down or differently to get what we're looking for.
Maybe Joe's got a comment on
Yeah,
that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, there are lots of ways to present the information, but what you have here is sort of, it represents the continuum of housing. And I would say that having been around in 2007, part of the reason that the numbers came in slowly in 2007 and are coming in more quickly now is your policy's evolved. I mean, it started just in the West Canby, and it was cash or units, then it went to 5% citywide, then it went to 10, then it went to 15, then it went to 15 and 15. So the policy has evolved. To Councillor Liu's point on some of the projects, this just represents what you've approved, and with changing market conditions, some of those projects may or may not go ahead. They probably will all go ahead at some point in some form, and so one investor's loss is another investor's opportunity, and so it would be premature to write off a project because these projects that are struggling are being frantically shopped around, and investors are looking at them as a buying opportunity. So you may still see the units that you approved in those projects. It's a bit hard for staff to make the judgment call about whether something is viable or dead in the water, frankly. And it would be a debatable point. Some developers would get really upset if we wrote off their project prematurely by saying it was a non-starter or wouldn't go ahead. So it's a little bit tricky, but what this represents is all the housing, and some of it may struggle to get built, but until we know for certain that it isn't going to get built in the form that you approved, we would intend to keep it on the list.
So a follow-up question on that, though. It's my understanding with Atmosphere, they have to come back for building permits again because they haven't proceeded. And with that, they have to go through, do they have to go through the rezoning again, or can they just pick up where they left off and carry on?
We're going to get an expert to come up.
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, in terms of the Atmosphere development, that rezoning has been adopted. The development permit has been issued. Because construction has started on that site, that development permit remains valid. The only thing required to pursue that project is a new building permit.
Okay, so they don't have to go through anything different, so it's still approved.
Yes, with respect.
That would be the underdevelopment then, because they have a building?
No, that is an approved development.
Sorry, it is?
Yes. Similarly thinned, rezoning is in place, development permit has been issued. In terms of that project, because construction has not begun, the development permit is only valid for 2 years from date of issuance, so there is a chance that that development permit will expire if they do not pursue construction.
Okay. And then we would reorganize where they're sitting.
Again, the zoning would be in place, so the land use is approved, but in terms of the actual building, a new development may potentially be required.
Thank you.
Okay, Jack, and then I'm gonna go to Michael.
Well, to be honest, I'm a bit disappointed about the report, because as the title says, right, 1 year review of the updated market rental housing policy. In my interpretation of a review is that it's not just giving us the numbers, because I think a review is basically, we want to see in the last year, since this has been new policy being in place, what's working, what's not working, any feedback. I think this was some general discussion about what's working and what's not, any problems that we identify or any other things that we should strengthen. But to me, this is only a display of numbers. So I share Councillor Day's concern. I think to spread the number over 16 years is not too meaningful. So I think perhaps we may have to put into different clusters. And also, when we have the numbers, how are we going to measure ourselves, our performance? Are we doing well? Are we not doing well? I mean, are we meeting targets? So I think benchmarking should also be somewhat built in. Now, I understand this is a 1 year review. I think, nothing is conclusive right now. But I hope that, in future, we can measure ourselves towards something, some standard. Now, you tell us that, okay, we have this number of additional units, but is the gap bigger or smaller? If the problem is growing bigger and we are still not catching up, I think probably, we are not doing good enough, right? So that's why I think, okay, some benchmarking. And also, I also like to hear some feedback from the building industry, because in the beginning, when we have this policy, there's some worries about, oh, this is not working, this would have a negative economic impact, and developers may be going to somewhere else. Again, I want to have some kind of information, some feedback, or some general discussion about, okay, what's on the ground, what staff have seen so far, instead of just giving us numbers. And this is just like bookkeeping, but not really a report.
Can I just make a comment on that? I was the one that pushed the bringing in Lemur. It wasn't long ago we didn't have any policies for any affordable housing. And I'm just wondering, maybe as part of the report, we should put in when we brought in those things. So we have a measure. We go back to 2007, but we didn't have Lemur in 2007. We didn't have Lemur till, when did it come in? 2017? Brought it in with Raymond Cooner, the first time on railway. That was the first time we had it. So we're talking, we've gained this in this period of time. So prior to that, even though we have some along the way, I'm not defending it, but I'm trying to put it in perspective with Councillor Howe, where it is. And the other thing is, maybe we should be reviewing our policies or bringing in other policies to get it. But we have to also look at, and I really appreciate his comment about looking at the development industry, because right now it is very fragile. And as Councillor Lou brought up with places like Atmosphere and everybody jumped in, I just hope it goes ahead and continues to go ahead. So maybe we could just look at when we establish something like the city center policy, and just to have it, and maybe even a memo on that, just to add to the report, a couple lines on that, so we can keep it in perspective. So it's good. Thanks very much. I've got Councillor Wolf.
Yeah, thank you very much. Through the chair, I just have one question of staff. Might have some follow-ups. I'm just trying to see how attachment 1 and attachment 2 kind of communicate here. So it's page 51 and 52. 51 is the table. It's got the different housing types. And I think we're just focusing today on the bottom section of the housing types, the market rental housing, of which there's secondary suites and coach houses and purpose-built market rental. I think that's what the focus of the update, the policy review is. And then the page across is the map of Richmond. And the legend has 2 categories, the blue and the red. And I'm not clear how there's only 2 there, 2 colors, yet the table has 3 columns. It's got the built occupied, the approved and under development, and then the under review estimate. I was just surprised to see some developments that are being built right now that I'm quite confident there's 60 plus rental units in there, maybe less, but it doesn't show up on the map. I'm thinking out in Hamilton. So my kind of question is, how do those 3 get boiled down into those 2 described with different words? And does this map, I know it says it's June 2023, and the development they just started, like the crane is working today. Would that not be included in here? Thanks.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, the map on attachment 2 really just describes the purpose-built market rental housing numbers. It doesn't include the secondary suites or coach houses that have been secured or in stream. Mm-hmm. And the 2 categories is essentially the approved or under development or under review. It doesn't include where there's built, purpose-built market rental on that map, just the ones that are under review and are in stream. So for the Hamilton area, it wouldn't include rental units such as Lemur units that have been approved by council recently. I know there's been a couple recent developments in that area. So that's the reason why you don't see anything there with respect to specifically market rental.
Great, thank you. You've clarified all the questions.
Okay, are you okay, Michael? Good, okay. All right, well, we have it's refused from information. Motion moved, seconded. All those in favor, with thanks, carried. Okay, and our next item is the community services pop-up dates, and this report is to be received for information. And we've got Melanie Berner here. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff just wanted to update the committee that the city's application to the 2023 UBCM Poverty Reduction Planning and Action Program that's referred to on PLN 56 of the report was successful, and we will be beginning the early planning for that project.
Excellent. All right,
And we're
questions?
here to answer any questions.
Yep, we got some. Carol? Just a minute. There you are. Go.
All right, thanks. Thanks for the report. Out of curiosity, on page 54, it states that we received not one, but 2 grants, I believe both from the provincial government. How much were those grants?
The initial, through the chair to Councillor Day, the initial grant was for $25,000, and that was to develop the collaborative action plan to reduce and prevent poverty. The grant for the pop-ups was for $50,000.
2,000. So $75,000, and we reached out and had 336 participants.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, that is correct. For the first 5 pop-ups,
Yeah.
that were the pilot through that grant.
Okay. Well, let's hope we can reach even more as we go forward. Thank you very much.
Mike, okay, Michael, we'll go with you. And you.
Thank you. Through the chair to staff, just one question. So
You're frozen, Michael.
Right, hello? Let's try again, Michael. You pushed the wrong button.
I don't think you did.
We lost him?
I'll just text him and let him know.
Yep. No, it's absolutely,
Technology, you're frozen.
acknowledge that the pop-ups of the pipeline
Michael, let's start again. We lost you.
at All Health Brig House Live. Hi there. Sure.
No,
Okay, can you hear me now?
no.
Hello, I'll try again. Testing. Can you hear me now?
Just, we can hear you. Try. All right, well. Well,
Hello,
we see
can
you
you hear me
now.
now?
Let's try it again.
Testing.
Yes, you're
Can you hear
good
me
now. Let's try it.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear us?
Oh, hi there. Hi. Oh, great. You can hear me. Thanks.
Yes,
I'm
good.
just seeing a picture of Carol Day. There's no full screen. Hi there.
Okay, start.
Oh, okay, good.
got Carol on
My
there.
question is, could the future pilot, so under next steps, it mentions that staff would recommend we offer pop-ups in 2024. My question was, could the pop-ups or at least one be held at each of the other libraries, like in the initiation, to then direct people to the Brig House Library? Because at the time of this pop-up session, there were people in need outside of the Brig House area. Even though that's accessible with transportation and stuff, there was still obvious need for it outside of that area. So even if it's just like a signage or one event where people can be contacted to then go to Brig House for future, I'm just wondering if that could be part of the next round. Thanks.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf. The pop-ups are continuing to run at Brig House Library, and staff continue to monitor them and explore opportunities. With that is that there is the new grant to develop the peer-to-peer resource navigation program, and that project will be held at various libraries throughout the city to provide more access to these resources that are available at the pop-ups. So it will build on those successes of the pop-ups to increase that access.
Okay, great. I hope that also includes the pop-up libraries like the one in Hamilton, which isn't there all the time, doesn't have a solid building, but could require that. Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, all right, Jack, there we go.
Yeah, I just want to mention that I'm the council liaison to the library board, and we had this the discussion at the library board, and I think everybody is so excited about the success of this program, and they're committed to do more, with more funding. So I think, they find this to be very helpful to the newcomers, people who are isolated, who's somebody who need the guidance to navigate through the process. So
To leave it here,
I think it's a success, you know. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Michael, are you trying again? You're frozen. Hello? Okay. Oh, I don't want to lose him if he was trying again here. Text him. Michael, are you trying again? Yes, he is.
sorry, I have no other comments.
You're okay? Seconded? All those in favor? Contrary carried. Managers? Anything good? Anything other? That's all good. Any updates?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick update regarding the provincial announcement regarding the reconstruction of Lions Manor. So you may be aware that on June the 22nd, the provincial government did announce a funding commitment to rebuild Lions Manor on the Fentiman site in Steveston. Following that announcement, staff did reach out to Vancouver Coastal Health staff to seek an update on their plans. Unfortunately, at present, VCH is not able to meet with staff to provide us any further information regarding the provincial announcement. That being said, staff are aware of their proposal. We do understand that it will require a rezoning application to be submitted for that property. We have been long advocating to the provincial government and Vancouver Coastal Health to rebuild the facility in that location and to maximize the density.
Good, we've got a question from Gerald. Just a minute, hang on here. Are we on now? Yep. What happened? I lost it off the screen too. All right, let's try to.
All right, I think we're rocking and rolling. Thank you. That was a great announcement. I was there at the temporary Lions Manor, and I think they were planning for 2024. Is there anything that we as a city can do to fast track the project?
Through the chair to Councillor Day. This type of application would obviously be fast-tracked by city staff. It is an institutional use. It's a healthcare use. It would qualify for our ability to fast-track. Unfortunately, our ability to advance the application does require that Vancouver Coastal Health come forward with a proposal, and that is what we're currently waiting for.
Thank you. And then I realize this is going way into the future, but when that building on Bridgeport across from Costco becomes available, is it possible to potentially turn that into transitional housing for people that might need, you know, something like modular type housing? Because like each one of those little rooms could be a mini suite if we were so inclined.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, that property has been rezoned by the city to healthcare. It was rezoned to provide a replacement for Lions Manor. Our understanding at the time is that Vancouver Coastal Health intends to continue to operate it as a healthcare facility and use it as what they would refer to as a decanting facility. So as they move patients in from one site, as it redevelops, they would use the Bridgeport site as a temporary site to house those residents.
Okay, so really, because it's already been redone with all the equipment and plumbing and electrical and everything that is required in a care facility, so it'd be great if we could continue to make use of it. Yeah, thank you.
Is anybody else for anything? We're adjourned. Very good.